to Who Corner to Corner podcast. My name is Geoff and I am one of your hosts, and tonight, as always, I am joined by my good friend Paul.
Yeah, hi, that's me. I'm the other one of the hosts.
Yes, mostly it's two of us, sometimes there's three,
sometimes.
When your daughter Freya joins us, and sometimes
the small person.
The small youth, and sometimes we have guests as well. But tonight,
Yes.
it's just us.
It's just the two of us, Geoff all and I lonesome.
It's
God
like
bless.
Dr. Evil and Mini-Me.
Oh, whoa. I'm not sure I like either of those options, frankly, but okay. I'm thinking more like Falcon and Winter Soldier. You know, that's kind of the level of cool that I thought we were at. But no, Dr. Evil and Mini-Me. Nice one. Well done, mate.
Just the two of us. That's their
Just the two of us, mate.
Yeah, maybe aged, older Steve and, you know.
Old
forget
Steve.
his name now.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Steve
What was
Rogers.
the Falcon's name?
Sam Wilson.
Sam, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam Wilson. It's been a while.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's our other podcast.
It is,
Corner to
yeah.
Corner. So tonight is the first in a series, hopefully a series of episodes.
We're doing a series of episodes.
We are, which we're going to call Essential. And
Essential.
are you just echoing what I say?
I'm just echoing what you say.
And in these podcasts, we're going to look at different doctors from the classic and the new era, and talk about the episodes that we each think are their essential episodes, which could be a bit of a mix really of things that we think are their best stories, things that we think are good for new viewers to jump in on, or things that we just love.
Yes,
and
all
we
of
might
the
also
above.
look. We might do audios as well, and books and comics and stuff as well from time to time. Do specials on those. So tonight we're going to kick off the Essential. I need to add some echo on that. The Essential series,
Echo.
by looking at the 11th Doctor, because we haven't given him any love for a little while.
No, we haven't talked about it for a little while, have we?
No, not really. No real reason. So we're kicking it off with 11, and we're going to look at 5 of our episodes each that are our favourite 11th Doctor ones, the ones that we think are essential. So a bit like when we did one of these before, let's alternate the delivery on this. So I'm going to pass it
bit you, bit of me, bit of me, bit of you, bit of me, bit of you, that kind of thing, yeah?
To me?
To me, to you. Yeah.
To me,
so
to
now
you.
with the Chuckle Brothers, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You need to aim high, Geoff. Reach that high hanging fruit thing.
I don't
right,
know where
anyway,
you were going
okay.
with that.
Yeah,
so
no, I
I'm
didn't
going
know.
I'm going to pass this back to you to start
Oh,
with.
cheers, mate.
So tell me, what is your... Well, they're not in any order, so let's just hear your first...
Yeah, they're not in any order. No. Okay. Essential 11. Right, okay, so if I was going to suggest to any newcomer who wants to get an introduction to the 11th Doctor, that's kind of what I was thinking, really, right?
Okay,
so what
for
stories
all of
would I
these,
suggest?
Okay, mine are probably more...
That's okay.
It's
just my criteria.
No, that's fine. So maybe if someone said to you, I've just watched House of Dragon, and I think Matt Smith's brilliant, and I'd like to discover more about him, you'd say, don't watch Terminator Genesis, he's only in it for 4 seconds. Is it Terminator Genesis?
Why would you want to watch that anyway?
Well, Arnie's quite good in it, as he always is, but Matt Smith is totally wasted. I haven't watched Morbius. I ain't got Morbin time for that. I do like...
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's just a meme, isn't it? I do like Jared Leto, but I'm not sure I want to watch Morbius, so we're skipping that.
Are you finished? Are you done?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I'm just planning my next Avatar reference.
Oh, God, he's got it in already. Right, before you take over any more valuable airtime talking about James Cameron and other films, I'm going to tell you right now what my first essential 11th Doctor is, and it can only be, really, the 11th hour. I mean, it has to be. I've looked at all the other stories right from the very start to the very end, and I think that if there is one story which fully gives us the 11th Doctor in almost complete form, it's that first one. The 11th Hour. It is written and performed as a complete showcase for Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor. It's written to his strengths. It's written for a new Doctor, a new personality, a new side to the Doctor. It brings all the energy that Matt Smith ever brings to this role, and then some. And it's wrapped up in a kind of, I was going to say by the numbers story. It kind of is. If you looked at the plot on paper, it's very much by the numbers, right? Alien presence in Earth, it's a fugitive, something searching for him, then it all kicks off and the Doctor's got to resolve it. But in making those things work together, we get some weird stuff, right? We get the Doctor on a fire engine, right? Racing up a ladder to jump in through a window in the top floor of a hospital, and then facing off, right? And then giving it the speech, and then all the other faces of the Doctor coming out. We get spaceships that are essentially made of giant eyeballs. So we've also got this kind of weird surrealist imagery that continues throughout pretty much all of the 11th Doctor's reign. So, if you want an idea of the Doctor's character and the way Matt Smith plays him, and the kind of interplay between the characters, for example, so you've got the Doctor and Rory, you've got the Doctor and Amy, you've got Amy and Rory, and the sort of comedy between that trio, and you've got some of the kind of standard jokes as well. So the start of just delete your browser history, stuff like that, typical kind of Moffat stuff. Then you've got some quite monstrous stuff as well. So you've got the whole Morphe snakehead thing, which kind of zips around Amy's head as she's sort of looking at it. And you've got some great Amy Pond moments throughout the whole thing. So it's pure 11th Doctor.
And the cracking the wall.
Cracking the wall. That's the other thing. It sets off all of that stuff, doesn't it? There's a few non sequiturs. I think things which may have been intended to be followed through, or at least which are planted in there in case of future developments. Things like there's no ducks in a duck pond, stuff like that.
Yeah, that doesn't go anywhere, does it?
We've also got, as well, actually, just thinking about that, we've got almost like the quintessential Doctor Who strange village or strange town, isolated town, slightly cut off, slightly bizarre.
Ledworth,
Ledworth, that's it. The sort of town, the sort of village that we had in like the Android Invasion, for example, or the Demons, right? With the John Pertwee adventure, and it pulls a lot of that stuff, and it glues the classic series to the new series. So I think you cannot watch the 11th Doctor, any 11th Doctor story, without dipping into the 11th Hour. Case closed.
Fish fingers and custard as well.
Oh God, yeah, you're right as well.
Which is
and that whole time hoppy thing, right?
Yeah,
the whole Amelia Pond, Amy Pond. Years later, the Doctor disappears. What he thinks is just a few minutes, comes back 20 years later or whatever.
I was going to put 11th Hour as one of my episodes, and perhaps I still can for many of the same reasons. This episode. Out of all of the regeneration stories, this is one. This is
one. This is indeed one.
Yeah. It's a cracker because the Christmas Evasion is a lot of fun with Tennant's Doctor, but he spends most of the episode in bed.
Yeah, exactly. So this, good point.
This one, 11 is straight off the bat running into things, and it is a great introduction, and to be honest, so is 12 and 13's regens, and that's not saying that 10's isn't, but like I said, he's in bed for most of it. So this is straight in, and Moffat comes in. It's his era of the show. He sets up his stool, his camp, whatever. It's a little bit darker. It's a little bit more fairy tale. It's a lot more timey-wimey, hopping around, making that a kind of function and featured element of the show in a way really that wasn't kind of done before.
No. Well, it's the heart of Amy Pond's kind of semi-trauma, isn't it, in a way? It's the heart of what drives her and has made her be the person she is now.
Because everyone thought she was crackers talking about the raggedy man, raggedy Doctor, and like you said, he was gone for years, but he thought it was a few minutes.
And that's another thing, actually, that kind of archetype, if you like, when I think the Doctor's, he really becomes an archetype within that story. You know, like a you know, like the 10th Doctor's. You know, the 10th Doctor became Time Lord Victorious, the angry, eternal soul, you know, coming close to the point where he can wreak vengeance. And with the 11th Doctor, this is the start of a very different kind of personality for it. You know, the sort of he's almost like the fool in fiction. You know, the fool who's actually really clever, like King Lear's fool. You know, he's kind of just making loads of quips, loads of jokes, but he's actually knows more about what's going on than anybody else in the whole story.
And he is, you know, as to be expected from Moffat, you know, quite a bit darker, you know, in places. But overall, you know, as they all are really, you know, quite sort of upbeat, cheerful. But like you said, he's that kind of fool character in many ways. The walk and the floppy hair, and you know, he's hyperactive and all that. So yeah, I think this is a great episode, great regen story. And like I said, it sets up so much of Moffat's stuff. You know, you get the crack in the wall, which is an arc that plays out across series. It's just to the end of series 5. I can't remember now, to be honest. And you know, you got things like you know, the house has got.
Yes, it is series 5. Yeah, I'd think about it.
Yeah.
So my eyes were going there, thinking.
Yes,
calculating.
I'll add some cogs noises. Cogs work. You know, there's just little things like you said, like the ducks. There's no ducks in the pond, and the house has got is it three floors outside and 2 inside?
Oh yes.
There's something a bit weird about it, you know.
The perception filter
on it, you know. So there's a lot of, you know, more kind of using, you know, time and space and stuff like that as a kind of, you know, aspect in the show. So yeah, I'm going to go with the 11th Hour as well. It's a cracking
brilliant
first.
That one can go in the tin.
That's ding ding. That's in.
Ding ding. Have you got a tin? We should get a tin.
No.
We should get a tin.
We could.
The 11th Hour goes in. Yep. Yeah. Cool. All right. What's next, Geoff?
Okay, I'm going to go with The Time of Angels and Flesh and Stone.
I was going to go with that one. That's on my list.
This is it's a 2-parter, but you know, it's one episode, so this is only counted as
it's one story.
Yeah, so this was the first stuff that Matt and Karen shot for Who.
I know, it's mad, isn't it?
You know, when
and they're so good in it.
They're so good. Any nervousness they might have had, you know, not obvious at all.
Not obvious at all.
They go into this episode, this 2-parter. They answer a distress call, don't they? And they go and investigate a ship and get tangled up with River Song for the first, but certainly not the last time in the 11th Doctor's run so quickly. 11th Doctor, River Song was someone that the 10th Doctor met at the end of her timeline.
And we were all kind of intrigued, weren't we, as to who she really was and what her connection was to the Doctor.
Lots of hints about things and a past between them, well, her past and his future, and then she has a lot of time with the 11th Doctor throughout his era. But this 2-parter is really, but it's a Weeping Angel story. They discover the Weeping Angels are inside a. I can't remember if it's on the ship or in the case. I watched it not all that long ago.
It's kind of both. I think they're in.
Both.
They're in the catacombs, aren't they? They're kind of. I mean, I think they are literally entombed. Yeah, they've lost their form, and the spaceship that has kind of crashed into it upside down.
That's right.
And it's kind of feeding the angels. It's given their form back. It's given them some food to kind of go after.
And particularly the first part of this one is a really, really good kind of action thriller.
It's amazing. It is such a good Doctor Who story.
They're trapped in the catacombs, the caves, and you know these creatures that you know basically can't be defeated are coming after them. You know, if you don't know the Weeping Angels, they look like stone angel statues, and if you blink, they move. And so if you stare at them, they don't move, and you can kind of back out of the room, which is hard in a cave. And if they touch you, if you blink and then they get hold of you, they transport you back in time, taking your essentially life essence as their energy to feed off and sending you back, whenever, hundreds of years, 50 years, whatever.
It's that difference, isn't it? That sort of potential difference between, the life you would have had.
Yeah.
Now gone, some kind of weird sciencey-wincy sort of nonsense thing that could sound reasonably credible, but probably doesn't if you interrogate it too closely.
But what's the fun in that?
Exactly.
And it's so tense, and there's the bit where Amy is in a it's like a science lab type thing, and an angel's on the screen there that she's had to watch, and she can't blink, and it starts to move, doesn't it, and it starts coming out the screen,
coming out of the telly screen.
This is Moffat taking his creation that appeared in series 3 of Who, and kind of expanding on its powers, and
moving it on.
An image of an angel is an angel, and we see that again in Village of the Angels with the 13th Doctor, where it's made up of charcoal, on paper.
That's right, it's a drawing on a piece of paper.
Yeah,
she tears up, throws in the fire, and then it kind of reconstitutes itself out of the flames, doesn't it? When it all starts kicking off.
Yeah,
brilliant. And such a good monster, the Weeping Angels.
They are really, really clever. And the cliffhanger at the end of episode 1 here, part 1. Is Matt's Doctor had a lot of great kind of speech moments during his run. He's commanding and confident, and I won't spoil it, but if you know the episode, you'll know the bit I mean. But don't put him in a trap.
That's a great speech, which again is another kind of signature Moffat device, isn't it? Isn't it? I think.
Yeah, and it shows his cleverness. They think they've outsmarted him. Yeah. He's got the way out. And now I remember when this episode went out. There's the bit where does Amy start getting like sawdust or dust or something coming out of her eye? Stone
dust.
It. And she gets the countdown in her eye, doesn't she?
See, now this is where the whole don't blink thing is inverted, isn't it? Because she has to keep her eyes shut. If she opens her eyes, then the countdown continues. So she has to keep her eyes shut to kind of keep her life going as long as possible, or stop whatever doom is going to happen to her. And the way that tension builds. Yeah, so
it's really good. And I remember she's sitting down in the woods that are on the ship, and the Doctor leaves her there, and then he immediately comes back.
Oh, yes.
He puts his hands on her face or her shoulders or something, and his jacket is missing, his tweed jacket. And I remember thinking, talking about it with a couple of friends at the time. This was sort of pre-internet days in some ways, in terms of like Twitter and forums and stuff, being active on them. And I remember saying it's got to have been a continuity error. He walks off and then comes back, and you see his hands in close up, and there's no jacket. And I thought it's too small of a detail to have been on purpose, was what I thought. And it was a continuity problem. I did think wrong, and without spoiling anything, that moment comes back into play a bit later, which is a bit more of the timey-wimey stuff like I was talking about.
Loads of timey-wimey stuff.
Yes, lots of it. Maybe a bit too much at times. Possibly.
Very possibly, yeah.
I was just
perhaps.
to say, for people who are listening, not watching, Paul has gestured at me as if to say, you could be right.
I did gesture. You could be right, Geoff. Please continue. That's kind of what I was getting at.
So, I'm putting this two-parter in as one episode, Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone, episodes 4 and 5 from the 11th Doctor's first series.
I think, I would totally 100% agree with that one. Then I think it's a good one. Yes, indeed. And like you said, actually, also it's their first story, isn't it? Matt and Karen.
The first one they filmed. Yeah.
And they're so good in it. I know this is a thing that Peter Davison and team did back when they started. They filmed 4 to Doomsday first, and then went back to film the Regeneration episode, Castrovalva. So Peter Davison had more time to spend playing the Doctor a
And I
bit
think
further
that's-
on,
yeah,
and
it's
then
quite
came
good,
back
really.
and sort of got his Doctor to that point, if you like. So it didn't come across as all completely fresh. And of course, they, the crew know the chemistry that by then. So when it goes back to their first story, they can kind of play in it a little bit more. And I think you can see similar things going on here. So it's a cracker. It is actually, I have to say that Flesh and Stone is my favourite of all the 11th Doctor stories. That two-parter is just astonishing. So good that I think I'm going to watch it again tonight, because it's at least 6 months since I last saw it.
Also, it is great music in it as well. It's really kind of thumping kind of
the imagery and the
music.
scale of it is. And that's something else actually. When we move from the 10th Doctor to the 11th, it's quite a big adjustment, in terms of the visuals, and the Doctor looks different, and the whole feel of the shows. We get that new opening with a kind of smoky, spooky time tunnel with all the clouds and the lightning going around, and the music is much more ponderous and somber and kind of, it's not as bold and brassy and bombastic as previously. So I think actually having Murray Gold's music continue through from the 10th to the 11th Doctor actually maybe retains a bit of comfort, a bit of familiarity, even though the themes are different, and there's a lot more strings, it seems, and there's a lot more sweeping kind of individual themes. Murray Gold seems to do a lot more on that than he did with the 10th, perhaps.
Yeah, do you know, I must say, I think the 11th Doctor's theme is one of the best pieces of music.
Really good.
It's such a banging, kind of exciting theme.
Yeah, it is.
And the 10th Doctor has a theme, and so does the 12th, and I like 12's because it's kind of electronic.
I like 12's a lot.
Yeah, that
12's
really
is another level, I think. But
yeah, it probably is.
It's very angry.
I think it depends if
It's
you
very
like
determined.
11's is a bit more sort of string based and a bit more whimsical, and 12's is more electronic and it's kind of angry, like you say, and it's a kind of brooding, kind of thumping piece. And 10 does have a theme, but I just don't remember it.
I can't remember it actually. No. Whereas I've got the 11th Doctor going round my head right now talking about it, so it's very memorable.
All the sort of variations on it, like the kind of westerny cowboy tinge.
And pull it down.
And
they can build it up into a full orchestral wall of sound at some point. I think this is. No, it's not quite where we first hear it, because we do hear it in the 11th hour, isn't it?
Yes, we do.
But I think the way it sort of swells triumphantly in this one at the end, when you said putting the Doctor in a trap, when it comes in there is astonishingly good.
Yes,
so
yes, goosebump inducing. So that's my second essential 11th Doctor. Back to you.
Okay, right. So I'm going to go for one which is way more low key than either of those two stories we've talked about, and features a guest star who some people are not massive fans on, but I think in this story he comes across pretty well actually, and it's James Corden's turn in The Lodger, which I really like this story. I think it's a good one, and I think, and the reason I kind of chose it for this is because it's a story that we haven't really seen the Doctor do before, and it's just iconically an 11th Doctor story, and it's which is weird because it's based on a comic strip that was written for DWM featuring the 10th Doctor, and I thought, and I remember reading that, I think, well, this is a bit weird. Not sure if it quite worked, but it's an entertaining diversion. And when I saw the story on TV, right, with Matt Smith's 11th Doctor, and even the chemistry with James Corden in it as well, it's great. I love it. I mean, it is outright played for laughs for much of it, and James Corden's a good comic actor. Matt Smith is kind of owning his own space in there, really, and it's full of great moments. And it's like, and it's the Doctor dabbling at being a human, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have his powers stripped away from him or anything like that. He's not quite in John Smith, Human Nature Family blood territory, but he's trying his best to live a normal life because he has to for the purpose of this story, right? So he shacks up with Craig and his girlfriend and just completely upends Craig's life. Craig's nice, comfortable, cozy life where he didn't have to do anything much. He wasn't particularly going anywhere, had everything kind of where it needed to be, and it was just and the Doctor is better at everything than him, which is like anybody's worst nightmare. You know, you suddenly got this mate who you kind of like, and you haven't introduced this mate to all your other mates, but when you do, suddenly all your mates like this guy more than they like you. They laugh at his jokes where nobody laughs at my jokes, right? And I'm getting quite personal here, but you know what I mean. And he's better at football. He's better at everything. And it goes further because the Doctor is even better at Craig's job than Craig will ever be. And it's and it's one of those jobs that he's on a call center or something, right? Which is quite a skillful job. There's you've got to have a sort of temperament and a sort of strength of character to do that day in, day out. I know because I've done it loads. But the Doctor is just having a whale of a time, and he's got orders coming in or whatever it is he's doing, and and everybody in the office loves him as well, which is great. But on the other side of that, we also get the first mention of this kind of first sight of this social awkwardness in the Doctor's character, and here it is played for laughs. I think that's the only thing that maybe grates a little bit. You could argue that it's slightly disrespectful of people who are actually socially awkward, and we're having a laugh at the Doctor. We're not really laughing with him, or maybe we are in some respects. But when the Doctor tries to go in for the kiss and doesn't quite get it, and it's that kind of fish out of water, the alien in modern day surroundings kind of thing.
Yeah, I never sort of thought that it was particularly sort of deliberately sort of taking the mick out of people who are so
no but it's played for laughs though, isn't it? It's almost like the only reason the Doctor is socially awkward, isn't it, in here, is to provide some comedy
and I think
for the story. I think that's potentially troublesome, but I think the way it's played and performed in the story is beyond any of that stuff, to be fair.
And also I think it's an alien thing. He's like you said, he's trying to be human here, and he don't really know how to do it. So that's what I was sort of trying to get at. I don't think it was. I think it's passable, under that kind of thing. I think it's quite interesting you picked this one. I did enjoy The Lodger. James Corden, I must admit I've never seen Gavin and Stacey. So I have really no real idea about him. I kind of think he's all right on his talk show. It's quite mad that he went from Gavin and Stacey and Doctor Who has become a big star in the States and films and stuff, and good for him. People don't seem to like him all that often, like you were alluding to, but whatever. But I like The Lodger. That's a good choice. It's quite different. It's nice when Who does something different. And let's just forget about the sequel to this episode.
I was going to mention, actually. I mean, it's an attempt to kind of recapture the chemistry of this one, isn't it? But it falls
closing time
falls quite way short. I think the bit that there's a part I enjoy in that story, actually, closing time, which is where the Doctor is working in a department store, and he's like the master of the toys. He's the toy demonstrator, and he's got a badge, and he's really proud of his badge, and it has its moments, and it's a nice closure to Craig's story, with the baby and his, the girlfriend kind of thing. So it's good. It's all right, but it's not. I think the ending sucks big time, which probably is another facet of the 11th Doctor's stories. I think there's a few of them where the endings, I don't know, maybe it's just me actually, but either way, The Lodger is pretty solid beginning to end.
I'll give you that. That's
actually
a good one.
maybe about this sci-fi. Yeah, there's quite a nice sci-fi element in it as well, isn't it?
There's
So
a
again,
little
it's
bit.
another one where the sci-fi and the ordinary world kind of clash.
Yeah, 'cause he,
in an ordinary house. It's kind of,
it's something on the roof, isn't it? There's a hidden
yeah.
spaceship. which-
There's a roof that doesn't exist. It's
Yeah,
camouflaged.
that's right.
Camouflaged, which again pays off later in.
Well, that's
not even
gonna-
in that series. It's another
No.
series later, isn't it? I think, or two. Even.
It's probably wasn't planned like that at the time, but yes, it does pay off in what's going to be my third.
See what we
choice.
did there? Yeah.
You'd think we'd
Anyone
script-
think we planned this? We don't. We really don't.
We haven't.
Apart from a few texts, that's about it.
yeah.
What should you do tonight? I don't know, mate. What about this? Yeah, that'll do. Whatever. We need content. Yeah.
Let's make a new series. Call it Essential. So I'm going to go
Good
with.
idea. What are you on about?
Well, it
Sorry, go
is
on.
a good
Go
idea.
on.
Yeah. I'm going to go
crack
with episode 1 and 2 from season 6, which is the Impossible Astronaut.
Damn you, boy! I was going to go for that one also. I was. God
and
darn it!
Day
Regularly,
of the
I
Moon.
got to think of something else now.
So we can still take it. So this is another two-parter, and this is amongst some of the most epic stuff that Who had done at the time. This is like they filmed in America in like Death Valley and stuff.
Unashamedly so as well, isn't
Yeah,
it? Not,
and they,
not this
you know,
tiny little insert.
no.
Let's get as much of America in as we can.
And they really went for it. And this was when the show was starting to kind of crack America big time and stuff. And it's a big kind of global spanning kind of thrillery mystery type thing again with the president.
Conspiracy thriller, isn't it?
And essentially the plot is that the Doctor sends invites to Amy and Rory River and Canton, Delaware. Actually, that's gonna. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. The Doctor's friends. So remind me of that.
Oh yes.
But, so they get this invite and they go to a place in Utah, maybe, and go and have a picnic. And an astronaut appears out of the water. It's
why
another.
not?
Because why not? It's a bit like the cover of a book that they did called Apollo 11. There's a novel, an 11th Doctor novel, where the front cover was an astronaut coming out of the water.
Okay.
So I don't know whether Moffat got that visual.
Is this before?
It came out before it, I think. Yeah. But the astronaut comes out and it shoots the Doctor and he starts to regenerate and he seemingly dies, doesn't he? I remember the front cover of Doctor Who magazine at the time. It had four separate covers: the Doctor, Amy, Rory, and River, and it was one of these four is going to die. And I remember thinking, it's probably going to be Rory, isn't it? You know, I never expected it.
You were hoping it was going to be Rory.
Well, yeah, I never expected it would be.
The thing
the
is,
Doctor.
Rory'd already died twice in the last series.
Exactly, yeah.
So like big deal.
Yeah, couldn't trust any of that. So it transpires that the people have been invited there by the Doctor to kind of investigate all of this and whatnot, and we discover that there's a race of aliens living on Earth who've been here for ages.
Forever.
Called the Silence. Big kind of bald scream mask type faced aliens in black suits like Men in Black. And when you see them, it's a little bit Weeping Angels on steroids and inverse. But when you see them, you forget immediately that you've seen them, so they start putting the 1, 2, 3, 4 line scratch.
Oh yeah,
through.
matchstick lines.
So they're looking at their arms and they're like, there's hundreds of them. That's how many we've seen, but we've forgotten. And it turns out that they've kind of taken over Earth and are living here, but we don't know that because we always forget. And the Doctor, it's been a little while since I've watched this one, but the Doctor ends up trapped put in a sort of inescapable prison, and he's growing a massive beard, and he ends up using the moon landing to televise about the Silence to people, and we discover a bit more about the astronaut suit, don't we? And it was sent to kill the Doctor, and then at the end of the episode we see a little girl in a street in New York regenerating, and it's just it's mad. There's so much going on in it, but it's a great conspiracy thriller type piece, really, like I said, epic. And the Silence are another Moffat genius creation who were not as good when they finished their time on the show, sadly for me. But here they are, awesome.
They're in full force there. I think also the second part of that story, which is called Day of the Moon, if memory serves, is really, really creepy. Which is another, I think, signature of the 11th Doctor, where the scares are kind of ramped up to 11, you might say. There's isn't that a bit where they kind of track? I can't remember what it is now. They're tracking a girl down, aren't they? Well, they're tracking the suits.
It's the suit,
and they come to this house, which clearly some bad stuff had happened in the past, and there's all kind of memories of it, and it's full of dread and atmosphere and darkness and shadows. And they see that's right, and they see the suit, and then inside the suit is this little girl who's the same girl who regenerates at the end of the episode, and you think, what? And it's one of the whole two-part is one of those stories, and I seem to remember Steve Moffat saying in an interview that it is kind of written for the fans in a way, right? It was a deliberately complex story that deliberately wasn't going to pay off right at that point, which would ask a lot more questions that would then be raised a lot further on. So it's kind of written for those of us who enjoy the slow burn almost, the fact that let's have a really terrific epic setup and then see how it develops.
And I enjoy that sort of storytelling. When it pays off well, did it always? I'm not sure. It's a bit
That's the other thing, isn't it? Did it pay off?
But when you have that fun with the setup and the wonder,
it's a lot of fun.
And unless the payoff is a total flop, I can kind of look past it. I used to watch Alias with Jennifer Garner. I got really,
quite far into that.
Yeah, it's a great kind of spy adventure action thriller type thing, and it often had these kind of mystery things, a bit like Lost, which was also J.J. Abrams.
That's right.
thing.
Yeah, another J.J. Abrams, which went on and on and on and on and on.
And the problem with a lot of that stuff was, here's a really cool idea. What happens at the end? What's the resolution? Dunno. Let's just figure it out.
But here's another bunch of questions. Here's another mystery to keep you going.
And watching it, I was like, this. Oh, could it be this? Could it be that? Oh no, And Alias had some of the best cliffhangers I've seen in a show.
Yeah, I'd agree actually.
But I remember at the end of series 2, it's going along. The kind of main stuff is getting resolved.
I remember now, series 2 of Alias. Go on. Yeah.
And then suddenly, I think it jumps a year later, and then you get something, and it's a cliffhanger, and you're a bit like, what? And it was almost like Abrams was writing, and he thought, shit, I've only got 2 pages left in the script. Flash forward a year, and and it was a bit.
And then we'll explain what happened in that year later on.
We'll explain it later. Some of Moffat's stuff was a bit like genius setup that didn't quite pay off, and like I said, I was a bit disappointed by the silence in the end when they were just sort of no real. But they're so powerful and enigmatic here, and then at the end they were just sort of essentially like bodyguard type things for a church, and I was a bit like,
and they weren't really evil either, were they? If I remember, they were just kind of just working towards an agenda that at times didn't align with our own, if you like, or wasn't always in our best interest.
And now I think about it, I wonder if maybe it was supposed to be something else at that point, but they couldn't afford to do it, so they just had to
or maybe just ran out of story time.
Well,
actually,
a bit like The Doctor's Wife, which is another excellent episode with Matt Smith's Doctor, where there's a green-eyed ood in it, and Neil Gaiman wanted another creature, something specially done, and they were like, we can't afford it. You'll have to have an ood, so that's why there was an ood in it. But yeah, the silence 2-parter here, fantastic. Yeah, so that's my is that my that's my third.
That's
choice,
your
isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, are you keeping track? Because I've done the
11th Hour, The Time of the Angels, and that one.
Oh yeah, that is your number 3. Yeah, so now it's going to be my number 3. Is it
4?
So this is my 4th one now. Now, this one actually, I and I'm still sort of in two minds. So I'm just looking at the two stories here, trying to figure out which one I'm going to go for. And I think, it's a toughie actually, right? But I think actually, yeah, it's got to be because it's, when we were talking about the 11th hour, we're talking about the fairy tale aspects of it, and we're talking about Murray Gold's music and everything else. I think if you didn't watch any other 11th Doctor story, but wanted a good gist of what the character was like, what the timey-wiminess was like, what the kind of crazy, surreal atmosphere of certain stories could often be like, then you've got it all packed into this one episode, which is A Christmas Carol. Which even has alliterations, or owes a lot of its genesis to a well-known story, Dickens's Christmas Carol, obviously.
Yeah,
where it's a kind of and it's kind of in a way I look at that aspect of it as being a little bit like the early Tom Baker stories, the Hinchcliffe Holmes, when they ripped off the Mummy and Frankenstein and everything else. That was those Hammer House B movies. Well, this is kind of Stephen Moffat ripping off a classic that everybody knows to some degree. It's embedded within our culture. I think Christmas Carol, we've all seen it in some form from a cartoon back when we were kids, and maybe some of us have read the book when we get a bit older or watch various adaptations of it. We know the essential story. A character is visited by elements, ghosts of his past, present and future, and then comes to change his lifestyle, go from being a bad person to a good person. It's that kind of eternal fable, and Moffat rips it off brilliantly.
This is the one with, is it Michael Gambon in it?
It's with Michael Gambon, big guest
Dumbledore.
star again, big names.
Catherine Jenkins,
opera singer,
Flying Shark.
Flying Shark, because why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
I
For Flying Shark Reindeer, right? Which again is a brilliant inversion, very playful on the imagery and the storytelling. It is clearly Stephen Moffat having a great deal of fun, and the actors just eating up the material and just exceeding it, just putting on something on screen that keeps you watching. Now, I know a lot of people are not big fans of this story. Perhaps it can be a little bit divisive. Is it the best Doctor Who Christmas episode? Possibly not. But I do think it is a quintessential 11th Doctor story. Everything you need to know about the 11th Doctor is in here. And what's also good, which we haven't mentioned yet actually, is how the Doctor takes charge of events. He's very much a driver in most of his stories. In fact, probably all of them.
Yes.
Maybe one or two where he's not actually. He's kind of there's one or two stories where he's a victim of circumstances and events that seem to have spiraled outside of his control somehow without him being involved in it. When things come to catch him up, maybe things like Let's Kill Hitler and A Good Man Goes to War, possibly.
Yeah.
And the name of the Doctor, definitely. He's kind of caught up in things that he doesn't have control of. But right here in this story, he's in absolute control to such a degree that he literally controls somebody's life, that he changes their history to make them a different person. And he does that purely to stop his friends dying in a catastrophic accident. So you got the whole thing where where Michael Gambon's character will not was it a switch off a defence shield or something, isn't it? It's Amy and Rory are having a questionable honeymoon on a spaceship that is hurtling towards his planet at like a gazillion miles an hour, and unless Michael Gambon switches off the doodah, they're gonna die. And he won't do it because he's a vindictive old bastard. So the Doctor literally changes his life to make him a better person.
And that's where
it's just incredible how it's done.
It's a very clever bit where Gambon's watching a film of himself when he's young, an old
on an old school projector film.
And Matt the Doctor says, keep watching, and then I can't. Is he go in the TARDIS, or then he comes down the chimney,
and then he appears in the film, right?
In the film, and also I remember it being quite moving with the Catherine Jenkins plot line to it. And
it is.
She's frozen, and every time she is unthawed,
she gets closer to death, doesn't she?
Yeah,
because
she's
got some uncurable disease.
Yeah.
So that's why she has to be on ice. And yet that kind of love story sort of grows and grows, doesn't it? In those little intervals. And she's only released from stasis for one day a year, and it's Christmas Day. And the Doctor just treats them to all kinds of experiences.
Yeah.
And another thing as well, this is again why it's quintessential 11th Doctor, because it starts off very kind of rational and reasonable, but then over time those experiences get crazier and crazier. When they're having drinks with Marilyn Monroe and Elvis and whatever, isn't it? And and it's just going mental. The Doctor's getting drunk. He's got tequilas in one hand. He's got shades on, and they're just having a party. But it's so joyous. When you're getting wrapped up in all that sort of stuff, and then like you said, there's a darkness to it. And it kind of hits right at the end, and it is quite moving. And Michael Gambon sells it as well. There's a lot of close-ups on his face and his eyes. And even that first bit when he sees the Doctor in the old film that's been projected on the wall, and he remembers, and there's a brief spark of joy and almost a tear in his eye, and it's an extreme close-up, almost in silhouette, in smoky kind of projector film noir silhouette, and then he sort of catches himself and questions, why am I feeling this? Why do I remember this? And then those memories start to fill him up, and you see him. It's a beautiful story, and very really dark, good. Very joyous. There's a good romance story at the end of it, and again, it's Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, just taking control of everything within that. Purely to suit his own ends. To save his friends, but that's what the Doctor does. It
is a really good one. Maybe I'll have to revisit this.
And we got giant sharks, like you said, bizarre imagery, right? A planet that is always snowing and always dark, and we got fish. That the atmosphere is so thick that fish can swim in it.
Yes,
right, and you get not giant sharks. They're just sharks. Sharks are big anyway, right? And they're swimming in this atmosphere that we're breathing, or that the residents of the planet are sort of breathing, and it's gaslit as well. So it's like that kind of old school technology, right? It's exactly that kind of almost like a steampunk kind of vibe to it, which we first saw in The Beast Below, and is carried through here and pops up again in a few other stories, but it fully kind of encapsulates the spirit of the 11th Doctor, I think, or the 11th Doctor era. I hate the word era, but those, I don't know what other word I can use really. The 11th Doctor's time,
his time,
10 years ago, whatever. You know what I mean. So there you go. I'm putting that one in.
All right.
That's my number. Is that my number 4?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Anyone listening, if we've got it wrong, let us know.
We can't count. I mean, we can count, but not when we're under pressure.
So my number 4 is going to be Asylum of the Daleks, which is
bugger.
So this is
that was the other one I was thinking of. Actually, I was tossing up between which one of those it was going to be. Because I know what my next one is, but it was just that one. So if you got Asylum, that's cool. Yeah.
Well, my other choice was...
Yeah, go on.
My other choice is one we spoke about. Well, was going to be one we spoke about recently. Well, actually, so we've been sitting there, I'm going to change my mind on it. But Asylum of the Daleks is episode 1, season 7. And this is when the Doctor kind of reunites with Amy and Rory. They've had a bit of time apart, haven't they? And they... he gets called by the Daleks, doesn't he, to go to their planet or wherever they is.
Yes, he does.
And there's a sort of Dalek parliament, and we get a load of Daleks in it. And for me, this is a good episode because we get the intro of Jenna Coleman's Oswin or Clara character as she's Oswin Oswald at the moment. And I remember it being a real shocker because we knew she was coming in as the companion, but this was like ages before she was supposed to appear, and they kept it secret, which was brilliant. But she has this great storyline where she's talking to the Doctor, and they're like, it's on screens and intercom and stuff, isn't it? And then later you discover that she's actually inside a Dalek, and it's
she is a Dalek.
She is
not
a Dalek,
that she's inside a Dalek. She is a Dalek.
Yeah. And she's become. And it's quite a sort of weirdly kind of heartbreaking story, but also there's the stuff going on with Amy and Rory. She's become a fashion model, doing perfume ads or whatever, and which is a bit sort of out of nowhere, but whatever. And but we discover that she and Rory are in the process of divorcing.
Yes,
and I remember thinking, well, it's a bit weird, but. It became quite affecting when the reason for it is revealed. She couldn't have children, and I found it quite it was quite sad. And you sort of sometimes think, a show like this, it's spaceships and whatnot, but it does try to tackle and have these kind of moments to make the characters richer and more human and deepen them. And so like I said, it might feel a bit kind of out there in it, like maybe Graham's cancer and Ryan with his dad in the series 11 and 12, but I quite like it, and I think it helps make the characters more than just a companion that runs around and helps. So yeah, I like this episode. You got Dalek eye stalks popping out people's foreheads, and you've got Daleks like blowing up and stuff. It's a great opening. Yeah, really enjoyed it. So for good Dalek action, good Dalek action, and a bit of tugging at the heartstrings, and some mystery elements as well.
It is a good one. Yes, it is. Okay, so my final 11th Doctor essential, I think. You're going to be surprised when I throw this one at you, I think, because
you might be surprised by my last.
Oh, really?
Choice.
Oh, now you're intriguing me, right? But
no one will expect Nightmare in Silver.
Is that what you're going for?
No,
shut up.
No.
I've gone for. Is it I don't know. Is it an essential 11th Doctor? I think it is. Right. It's not a story that massively adds to the 11th Doctor's kind of journey, if you like. In terms of that sort of epic, the journey to Trenzalore and all the stuff that happens in Time with the Doctor and all the rest of it. It's almost like an interlude story, right? But it is so affecting. And it's so different and actually quite unique. And it's not my favourite story, right? There's a lot about it that I don't really like. But I think the heart and soul of it is immortal and has never... I don't think any other Doctor Who story has quite treated the idea of mental illness in that way until we saw Vincent and the Doctor. Yeah. It is an astonishing story. It really is on every level. I mean, I studied art history, at university. I got a degree and all that kind of shit. Yeah? And I spent a lot of time in the company of Vincent van Gogh and his life story and everything else. And I like to think I kind of know the painter. Obviously, I don't because I wasn't around then. But the chance to actually go back and spend time with somebody like that and actually kind of understand them in a way that we never can looking back through history. And understand, the genius and the torment and, everything that Vincent must have been going through. And yet, right, in a light-hearted sci-fi story, right, in a Richard Curtis script that is equally full of jokes as it is full of pain and emotion. It's a really extraordinary script. And you can argue that the monster is, I don't know, was it kind of some sort of chicken-headed thing that may or may not exists. I think it does exist.
It does, but
it's only through a certain perception, right? And that's a sort of play on the surrounded by demons kind of thing that nobody else can see. And it's a real demon. So, but if you did not watch this story in your run of watching 11th Doctor stories, you would be missing out. I think. I think that's why it becomes essential to my mind.
I was going to pick this for my list, but we had a tweet from someone about it, which I'll come to shortly. It's a superb episode. It's the one my wife says is the only episode of Doctor Who she likes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we watched it together when we were first dating.
Really?
I remember, I was in floods of tears at the end of it, and
I know that's what I hate about it.
Yeah,
right.
And but it's so sad, but also so kind of uplifting at the same time when he discovers that he will be remembered and loved, and I suppose in some ways it's all any of us want, really, isn't it? For someone to remember you when you're gone. And I remember thinking, oh no, I can't let her see me cry over this. She's only watching this to be nice to me,
I know.
And if I'm honest, I don't think I haven't sort of deliberately watched it since then, but because it's so difficult to watch, because it's so emotional. But is it Channel W or something? They show episodes, don't they?
Watch, right?
Yeah, on Saturday afternoons or something.
Yeah, you caught it.
Caught it
unawares.
A few months ago, yeah. And Ali said, "Oh, it's this one, and we'd been catching bits of Matt episodes for a little while at that point, and I'd flip through the channels and I'd say to Ethan, my son, "Oh look, here's Doctor Who. It's not a girl, and so it's like, what? He's got black hair. I don't understand."
And a big chin.
Yeah, but we ended up catching towards the end of Vincent and the Doctor, and I was watching it, and I ended up crying watching it, and Ethan said, "Oh, what's the matter?" And I said, "It's just very sad, and I think he sort of, I kind of explained it a bit, and I think he understood a little bit, and he's often, moved by stuff. I remember we were watching Lion King once, and the animation, and he said it was when I can't remember what the dad's called, Mufasa. Yeah, when he dies, and he got all sort of funny, and I said, what's the matter? And he said he won't see his dad again, will he? And it obviously sort of moved him, and anyway, so yeah, Vincent and the Doctor, it's a gorgeous episode, and it shows to me that it's another really good example of how sci-fi and fantasy stuff can tackle real emotions and drama whilst dressing it up and stuff, and it makes me think a bit of the Rosa episode, with the 13th Doctor, and I remember thinking with that for sort of different reasons to this one, but oh wow, this is an incredible bit of drama and kind of real world stuff mixed up with the sci-fi element. So yeah, this Vincent Doctor, brilliant.
It's interesting actually, because I kind of think of I think you're right with Rosa, but I think also, and to my mind maybe more so, Demons at the Punjab, which I always think has been quite emotionally effective. It's the I mean, Rosa's got a tragedy to it, so does Demons, for similar kind of reasons in a way.
And to my shame, I was going to say I didn't know about the partition.
Mid-flow.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. I was going to say,
who interrupts people when they're talking?
Before I forget what I'm talking about, because I'm on something here, right? No, I forgot it now. See what you've done. I was right now. I'm just joking, right? The difference between Vincent and the Doctor, and I think, and those other stories, is where it's where Rosa and Demons of the Punjab, the kind of drama and the emotion come out of a natural kind of progression of the story. This is where the story is going, and it's kind of it's almost like a train engine. It's on rails. It's going to go down that way. There's nothing we can do to stop it. The train is running. It's got a good head of steam, and it's going right. Whereas with the Vincent and the Doctor episode, I do find the last 10 minutes or so, the really emotional part, which again I can't stop crying at either. But it's what Richard Curtis does. He's a bastard for this, right? He deliberately builds the tracks so that the train is going to go down that route, right? It might not be quite where the story is going, really, in a way, but he's where he's going to take it regardless. So you'll he'll lay the tracks down and he'll drive that train into that emotion shed straight away. And I do find it slightly. It's almost like, you know, when you look at a scene and you can see the visual, you can see the director kind of framing the shot and all that sort of stuff, right? It's when I look at this, I can see the writer deliberately laying a script in purposefully to make you bawl your freaking eyes out. And that's it. And he does, because Richard Curtis is so good, he does manage to retain a kind of credibility to it, or, you know, sort of veracity to it, whereby there is a message to be, you know, to be kind of conveyed through doing that, right? Which is, like you said, it's the thing about Vincent coming to realise that actually, you know, his work does mean something to a lot of people. You know, all the stuff that he did, all the visions he had, all the emotions he felt, all the anger, all the sadness, everything that was all screaming in his head from day to day. It all meant something to people way beyond his lifetime, and in the words of the Doctor, always will. And that's an important message, I think, to, you know, to kind of convey to anybody who might be undergoing anything kind of similar. And you're right, for it to kind of do that in a sort of sci-fi setting, it is quite unreal. But I do find the whole kind of, you know, the way it gets you kind of emotionally bawling your eyes out at it, and it's probably just me, right? It's quite cynical with these things, but I think there's an artifice to it that just reaches over through the kind of fiction, you know. Whereas I think with,
I mean, that's.
Do you see what I mean? Am I making sense?
Well, it bends, you know, reality and what happened, and totally, you know, kind of fictionalizes it. Whereas in, like, Demons of the Punjab, for example, like you said, the metaphorical train is going. The events in that story are a fixed point in time. It's going to happen. It's going to be split up, and, you know, we are along with the ride, and there's the emotion of that, the emotion of the family bit, you know, stuff going on. Whereas in this, yes, it is slightly artificial. And when I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the DiCaprio Brad Pitt film, which is a piece of shit, except for.
You mean you don't like it, Geoff? Is that what you mean?
And I tell you why I didn't like it. Well, it was weird, actually, and I'll get back to Vince and the Doctor in a second. But Brad Pitt is excellent in that film. DiCaprio is great fun in it. But it's quite long before sort of much happens, and
we need to do some film podcasts, don't we?
Yeah,
I think that's what we should do. We should definitely do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be sat talking about crap films, though. I want to talk about good films.
Where are you going with that? And Ali turned to me and she said, "I think they've forgotten the plot."
Oh, no, they've forgotten the story.
Forgotten the story. But my issue with it. My issue with it is that you know, the Manson and Charles Tate you know, murders and stuff happened in a very certain way, and in this film Tarantino fictionalizes it completely and basically makes it a kind of sort of happy ending. And I remember thinking, I don't agree with that at all, and I felt that because they took, probably because it was a tragedy, you know, and kind of tried to make out like it didn't happen or something, you know, it was a bit like, oh, no, I don't like that. Whereas now thinking about what you said there about Vince and the Doctor, yes, it's totally, you know, fictionalised what happens, and it is you know, emotionally affecting and engaging. Was it the right narrative choice because it bent the truth of history? Possibly, but I'm often led by the emotion, and that's stronger for me.
But it's not so much pulling Vincent out of time. That's not what I'm getting at. Right. It's the whole point of a script written to tug your heartstrings. He does that. In Love Actually, Four Weddings, even Vicar of Dibley from time to time. It's like you can kind of see, or, you know, maybe you can't see because I don't know, but it could just be me, like I said.
I'm
but
stupid.
Yeah, frankly, mate, you're dumb as a plank of wood. Frankly, You know what I mean? But no, obviously you're not as dumb as a plank of wood. You know,
just
they're much more intelligent. But just messing with you. I don't know. I've said it anyway. You know, it's just.
No.
I find it a little bit. It's just. It is the scripting. I think it's just I can just see Richard Curtis thinking, what can I do to get the buggers bawling their eyes out? Yeah, I'll put some of this in, I'll put some of that in, and then I'll make him cry, and I'll give the curator guy, the art history guy, some really powerful words to say, and he can deliver it with lots of emotion, and we'll film it in this way as well, and we'll do this and we'll do that. We'll just literally layer on. It's like, I'm going to give you a cake, right, and I'm going to put more and more cream on top of it, and do you know what, that's not enough cream, let's throw some more at it, let's do some of this, and blah 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 blah. And when you've eaten your cake, do you know what, Vincent dies anyway. So it's like, okay, cheers, you know.
So I'm going to go on from that serious stuff and bring in my final essential episode.
Go on. I'm on tenterhooks. What is it, Geoff?
And I'm going to go with Cold War.
Oh, okay. Because, interesting. Yeah.
So Cold War,
is this Essential 11th Doctor?
Well,
go on. Yeah.
Was
it just one you like?
Maybe other people don't think it's essential. DM me about it. It's a really good.
That was very challenging, wasn't it?
Thriller. It was.
Go on. Yeah.
Essentially, the Doctor and Clara accidentally end up on a submarine in the Cold War, hence the title. They think they're going to Vegas to see Elvis, and they don't. And there's an ice warrior that's been discovered, and it escapes. And it's sort of. Well, if anyone listens to us regularly, and last week we looked at Orphan 55, it's a bit like Aliens on a submarine.
In a way, a little bit.
And I really enjoyed it. The Ice Warriors are quite a fearsome-looking creature, and I quite like that. We saw it without the suit, and it was still quite menacing. It puts its spindly claw hand on Clara's head at one point, doesn't it? And running through the air. The big claw thing comes down, and it's both of them, didn't it? It lifts her up or something, and it's
kind of like the bastard child of what did you say? Oh, Alien. Yeah, maybe the Thing and the Hunt for Red October. A bit of that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Or Das Boot or something.
And it's got David Warner as well.
Yeah.
Sadly,
criminally underused, arguably.
Yeah. So it's
but why not?
It's not essential in that it's necessarily a great episode, but what it is fun, and I like that. I enjoy it. So I'm going to chuck.
Is it a good showcase for the 11th Doctor? Do you think, or Clara?
I don't know. It's got an ice warrior and a submarine.
It's got an ice warrior. Well, there you go. What more do you need than a classic Who villain and a submarine with David Warner? Actually, it's got quite a few faces in there, hasn't it? I can't remember the name of everybody, but there's a few of them who crop up.
There's a Game of Thrones actor in it as well. Yeah,
it's got what?
One of the guys is from Game of Thrones, I think, in it.
Yes. Yeah. He's been in quite a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm just going to read out a couple of tweets that we had in response to our post about the Essential 11th Doctor episodes. So a Mandalorian, which is a great name, who's at Amanda M8810, who's quite a new follower. Hello, Amanda. She said, I agree with what others said, plus Vincent and the Doctor, maybe less essential, but it's a fun one and a favourite of mine. And I'd replied saying, how could I forget that one? Updating my list of episodes now, but then I dropped it. So sorry, Amanda. But Paul took it. So Ian Banks, who's at Stuff Ian Like, says Vincent, The Girl Who Waited, Day of the Doctor, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, Vincent especially, a man fighting against a monster only he can see, is a fantastic metaphor for mental illness, and his only victory is that others fight it with him. And then we've got Mike Honor, at Mike Connor. There's an awesome novel. This is not really about the show itself such. There's an awesome novel called Touched by an Angel by Jonathan Morris, which absolutely should have been an episode.
Yes.
A proper weeping angel story, and every Doctor needs one of those. So Sophia, who's at Soph Anna Maria, says this is her favourite era. So favourite era. So area.
That's favourite era.
So all of them with a winking face, but she says definitely the 11th hour. I'd also suggest Pandorica Open / The Big Bang, A Good Man Goes to War, The Hungry Earth / Cold Blood, Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon, The Snowmen, which is also another favourite of mine, but I felt like it was too obvious to say it because we recently spoke about it on our Christmas episode rewatch.
We did.
And she also said The Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone. And then Giltzer, who's at Dennis Gill 10, says 11th hour, Pandorica Opens / The Big Bang, A Christmas Carol, and The Day of the Doctor. And Thasmin.
I did think about Day of the Doctor actually. But then
I did too, but I felt like it's not solely a 11th Doctor, and it's got a lot going on in it.
And we can talk about that in another thing, which we
could do actually.
About. Multi-Doctor stories.
And then, Thasmin and Darwin's podcast says Time of the Angels, and Ian Clark says the same as everyone else, basically. I'll throw in an extra vote for Time of the Doctor, which has a few moments of squick.
Yeah, I did think about that. I like it.
Yeah,
a few moments of what did he say?
Squick. I'm going to need to know what squick is, Ian.
Is that a Scottish term?
Maybe. But it's quite underappreciated with some deeply poignant moments. Not only
I agree. I love it. I love it to bits.
Yeah, it's got.
I didn't the first time I watched it, but every time I watched it since, I think it's an astonishing episode.
This
I love
is.
it a lot.
He says here, not only is the regen essential, he also gets a new regen cycle, but more importantly, the stand he takes on that planet, defending ordinary people for the rest of his natural life, defines who the Doctor is, and. I think that's entirely
I'd agree with that.
Fair enough, yeah. So, yes, some hopefully people have enjoyed our bit of 11th Doctor
waffling.
Loving.
We did waffle
tonight.
a lot, didn't we? Did we waffle?
We did.
Yeah, right. Mostly on topic. That's good.
So, well, let's do another essential. I'm not going to do that
essential.
Anymore. Let's do another.
What would you want to do? What Doctor would you want to do next, do you think? He's thinking about it now, dear listeners. Look at this face. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. You can see the steam coming out of his ears.
I'd say.
Really, but go on. Yeah.
I don't know. Why don't we poll it?
Should we put it to the masses?
Let's
do that.
I'll tweet
put it
out
out there
whilst we're talking. So anyone who's listening back to this,
look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is live interactivity right here. You're watching Geoff furiously hammering on his keyboard. Look at him there, the tongue hanging out as he thinks very carefully about exactly what words he shall choose to use in his tweetings. Yes, indeed. Look at that, the face of concentration. I should bring it down a bit, shouldn't I?
Yeah, take it down.
And finally, as Geoff stares into the screen, thinking about the words, trying to ignore the annoying bastard in his ear. And he's done it. Has he done it? Yes, I believe he has. That is a success. The tweet is out. The audience erupt. Everybody goes wild and crazy.
So, I haven't tweeted it yet. Which Doctor should we list? Should we do modern? Or should we do two modern and
I don't mind, mate. I don't mind. Whatever. I don't care.
Okay.
Whatever. It's all Doctor Who, isn't it? You know what I mean?
I'm going to go with moderns for this one.
Moderns, right? Yeah. Whatever.
So
whatever.
I'll ping that out. There we go.
Just ping it out there, mate. What are you waiting for? Have you done it? Have you done it yet? Have you done it? What are you waiting for? Just ping it out, mate. Just ping it out. I don't care. I don't care. Whatever. Sorry.
We've just had a tweet come in.
Tell me to stop it.
From Amy. Amy. Sorry, Amy. At Spencer Tracy fan, who says 11th hour, Beast Blow, The Girl Who Waited, The God Complex, The Pandorica Open / The Big Bang, Impossible Astronaut / Day of the Moon, A Good Man Goes to War, Wedding of River Song, Angels Take Manhattan, Name of the Doctor, Day of the Doctor, Time of the Doctor.
It's kind of most of them, isn't it?
I'm going to say we've just
we covered a lot of those. We did some of them.
As we record the episode.
We've done.
Thank you for that, Amy.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I've quite enjoyed this chat, actually, Geoff.
Yeah,
it's
been
been
good.
a lot of good
So,
fun reminiscing over our
to,
Essential Doctors.
Yes, I look forward to getting the poll votes in and tackling our next one.
Yeah.
So on that
Good
note,
stuff.
we shall say ta-ra.
Au revoir.
And we'll see you in another corner of the Hooniverse next
Yes,
time.
another corner, wherever that might be. Yes. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks
Thank
for
you for
listening.
interacting. See you next time.
See you
Bye
later.
bye.
Bye-bye.